Hi, you've reached Tim and Gabrielle from Excel Talk. We're not able to come to the phone right now, but if you leave a message, we'll be sure to respond by playing your message on our live Excel Talk broadcast. Welcome everyone to Excel Talk. Excel Talk is all about Microsoft Excel for Acumatica users. And if you hear that siren in the background, that's the weekly test in my city for our tornado siren. My name is Tim Rodman, and I've been working with the Acumatica Cloud ERP product since April of 2013. When I first started learning Acumatica, I used a blog to take notes about what I was learning. That blog has grown into an independent Acumatica community website located at augforums.com. And I'd love it if each of you watching this would take less than 60 seconds and list yourself on my Rolodex by going to augforums.com, clicking the free button in the upper right-hand corner, and clicking Rolodex, then following the instructions on that page.
I am Gabriel Michaud, and I will be co-hosting this show with Tim. Tim actually came up with this idea a few weeks ago, and I got very, very excited. I'm a bit nervous today. This is our first show. Just a bit on myself. I have been working with Acumatica since, I believe, December 2009. I was an ERP reseller and consultant back then, and I discovered Acumatica online, immediately fell in love with the product, and initially worked on localization, customizations, and a few implementation projects before eventually moving on and joining Acumatica. Since 2017, I am running Velixo. Velixo is an Excel-based reporting add-on for Acumatica that lets Acumatica users access all their ERP data from a simple spreadsheet. Good to see all the people live with us today. That was a last-minute announcement, I guess, for many of you. I just shared it on my LinkedIn page. I'd say this is a test, but we are pretty confident that this will work out all right. And I'm already excited about future episodes. Tim, take it away.
I'm really glad we have you on here, Gabrielle. You have a much higher level standard than I do, so I think you put the professional in Excel Talk.
Hey, but that intro video, I think that was a 1 hour thing yesterday. I wanted something. I felt like just having a single slide was not enough. I like this professional touch, and since we want to go old school, old fashioned with phones, I figured I would use a rotary phone for the intro. So I hope people like it and that it gets you on the mood to call us and actually leave a message. And Tim, I think we should actually be taking postcards as well, or letters, if people want to ask questions like really the old-fashioned way. Let's be different.
We'll have to think about an address for that. That's a good idea. Yeah, on the format. So we want to talk more about, like, maybe details about why we want to do this, motivate us, maybe towards the end. We want to jump into our format, but kind of to cover our idea for the format before we jump in, my analogy is this. The phone call messages, so you saw the phone number that was displayed there in the intro. You can also see it in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, 833 Excel Talk. If you call that number, you'll hear a voicemail message, and you can leave us a message. I think you get 3 minutes, if I remember correctly. And we want to build this whole Excel Talk thing around that as the foundation. So if that's the cake, then we also have the YouTube live comments. We're also broadcasting on LinkedIn, but I don't think the comments can be brought into the video on LinkedIn. But at least on YouTube, if you comment on YouTube in the chat window there, we can put it up on the screen just like here. David Hunter, Velixo is awesome product. Thank you both for doing this. So we can flash it up on the screen and make it like the icing on the cake. So our goal is to interact with people, mainly with the phone messages, but also we like the live YouTube comments. So anyone watching, please, tell us your name and why you're joining today, where you're joining from, and we'll put those comments up on the screen throughout the broadcast. Gabrielle, did I miss anything there?
No, and Tim, maybe we should discuss like something that we've been going back and forth on. Like, will we be having live questions like from the audience? Will we be like putting people live or not?
Good question. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
You mean live video or live answering questions from the chat?
Anything, live video. But I think we had settled on like not bringing people live because it might be intimidating to some people. We felt like just getting the voicemail question was probably a format that a lot of our folks would be more comfortable with.
Yeah, a good point. I think there's two things there. One's the logistical challenge of getting someone on live, getting them to join and, connect up, make sure your audio is working. The other part of it is I think a lot of people work with Excel are introverted accountants like myself. And, you might be too nervous to come on live with the video, but maybe you could leave a message, right? And then you can also attach your Excel file. We have a way on the website. You'll hear it when you call the phone number. It'll mention the link where you can go upload your Excel file so we could actually pull it up when we respond to your message on the show.
Yeah. And we're like looking for challenges, but we're also looking to have fun. You'll see that some of the topics that we bring up will be like directly related to your ERP, to your like day-to-day Acumatica work, but we will also have questions that are like unrelated, but that still relate to Excel in some way. And that's the first question that Tim will have for us today. You'll see it's a fun one, and I think a great way to kick off this show. But I for one like challenges. So if you have complex questions, if you have a spreadsheet from L that you would like us to look at, I think is that how we call that, the spreadsheet from L, or like ours? Yes.
Yeah.
And like stories from the trenches, like stuff you've been through over your life that involve spreadsheets. Just to like give you a few tidbits, a few weeks ago, I was called by a client that realized that they had been paying millions of dollars to the wrong vendors because of a bug in a custom product that somebody had built. And Excel came to the rescue. I used Excel to extract all the data, analyze the bank account numbers, amounts, and everything, and that really helped us figure out what went wrong, how to fix it. So that's just an example. Although it was not directly related to Acumatica, we were still able to use Excel to save the day.
Yep. I think Excel and Acumatica are a great combination, and there's a lot of fun we can have with these two things. We're focused on Excel, but we are focused on Excel for Acumatica users.
Correct. Yes.
So I think we already do have another, we're going to try to do these monthly, right? And if you go out to aagforums.com/Excel Talk, you can see when our next broadcast is scheduled for in January. But this is all going to come down to whether we get messages or not. So our phone messages are the foundation of this thing. If we get messages, we keep going. If no one calls in, I don't know, Gabrielle. I don't know if I'm going to keep going. We'll see.
I'm pretty confident. I just brought a comment on screen. We have somebody from Jakarta in Indonesia. So that's I think that's pretty cool for our first live show. So hopefully we'll be getting good questions from Acumatica users worldwide.
So please, everyone watching, call our number and leave us a message so we can play your message on our next broadcast.
Yeah.
So for today, we only have one message lined up, and it's actually from my daughter. So I wrote up something for her to read. We have one message to give an example of how we're thinking to do this. We ready to go for it?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, here's our first ever call on Excel Talk. Here it goes.
Hi, Daddy. Can you help me with an Excel question? My teacher wants to know which day of the week is the most popular for birthdays in our class. I entered the names and birthdays of all of my classmates into Excel, but I'm not sure how to find which day of the week is the most popular. Can you help?
Great question. So we've got birthdays in an Excel sheet, and we're trying to find out the most popular day. And I'll go ahead and pull up my screen now. This is the question that my daughter submitted, or the Excel file she submitted. Let me get my screen shared here. I'll go full screen on that. And let's go ahead and take a look at it. So she's entered her classmates' names in column A. These are not real names. These are random internet names, by the way, randomly generated birthdays as well. And I should comment on there, if you call, leave a message, and share your Excel file through the website, I think Gabrielle will figure out a way to like anonymize the data. There's some things we can do to just generate random numbers. It's the structure, that we would share.
Yeah, but if you're making millions of dollars and have billions of cash lying around, like, yes, feel free to just leave your bank account numbers and everything. we will obviously anonymize them before we show on YouTube, but
yeah, we'll keep them for ourselves. So these are just random birthdays, but we got names, birthdays here, and we want to summarize it. We want to find out what's the most popular day of the week. And this, I think, Gabrielle, this might be pretty important. This might dictate who gets to go on the monkey bars first at recess. You know how these debates go in elementary school. Whoever, if it's Friday birthdays, if they're the most popular, they might get to be the first on the monkey bars. So we better do this right.
Yeah.
So here, go ahead.
Yeah, Tim, I know that you're a Power Query guy. So are you going to come up with something that involves Power Query, or you had something simpler in mind?
I have something simpler to start. I like starting with the end result first. Now, we might back into Power Query. I think I'm going to defer to your topic next, and then we'll see how much time we have at the end. How's that sound?
I have some ideas as well.
All right. So let's take a look at this. So the first thing I would do when I see data like this, we've got data in cell A1 to cell B20, right? And Excel is great that it's got individual cell references, but I like being able to tell Excel that all of this is related. So the first thing I would do is I would go up to Insert, and I would go to Table. And creating a table is a way to tell Excel that this whole chunk of data is related to each other. In this case, there's no column headings. It's just names and dates. So I'm not going to check my table as headers. I'll click OK. And by the way, Gabrielle, how's my screen look? Is it big enough? Can you read it?
Yes, it's big enough. Yeah.
All right, good. So I now have a table, and you can see Excel now knows there's this little blue icon in the lower right. Excel can tell now that all this stuff is related to each other. So I'm going to name my columns. I'll call this name, and I'll call this birthday. And a couple other things about how a table works. So once I have a table, normally, let's say I was going to do a count. I want to count the number of records in the table. Normally, you would type in cell references. I'd say like A2 to A21. And you can see there's 20 records in my table. But if you look up here, these are really ugly cell references, and this is where Excel gets a bad name, or can get a bad name, because your cell reference might not expand all the way to where it needs to. Someone else adds some data later, and it's missing that. Now it should be down to row 30 or something, right? So here's where a table is really nice, because I can go in and do that same formula. But actually, Excel will do this automatically. If I highlight the cells, you can see instead of doing cell references, it knows, since I highlighted the whole table, that it's table 1, column name. So it just makes it a lot cleaner. I get the same result. I still get 20, but it's a much cleaner way of doing the formula. And I could also do something like, maybe I want to find the earliest birthday. I could do min. I could type in that table 1. You see it knows that it's finding the table. Oops, let me go back in there. Table 1, then I can do my open brackets. It shows me the columns that are available, and I can do birthday, close my bracket, close my parentheses. Now it shows a weird number because it doesn't know it's a date yet, so I just have to come in here, format cells, and tell it that it's a date. So now I just found the earliest birthday. But the point is, when you're doing formulas, if you format things as tables, it makes your formulas a lot easier to read. And on that point, another nice thing I think is when you go up to click somewhere in the table, go up to table design, and you can change the name of the table. So I could call this birthdays. And when I do that, now I come back to my formulas, and now it's got a nice friendly name, birthdays, the name column. Makes my formulas a lot easier to read when you're using tables. So that's a little bit about tables. Now, let's delete this. And now we want to summarize this by day of the week to figure out who's going to get to go first on the monkey bars at recess. So first thing I would do here is add a new column, birthday of week, I'll call it. And let's do a formula using our text formula. I think this text formula, I don't know if you use this a lot, Gabrielle, but I think this is really useful, especially when working with dates.
Yes, in financial statements, let's say you want to display like as of December 31st in Velixo, this is usually what I'll tell people to use. Would you be explaining the different formats here?
Yeah, I'm just going to do a few examples.
Okay.
Feel free to enhance what I'm doing here. And I see Ethan's got a comment that the screen resolution is hard to see. Let me see if I can zoom in a little more. And hopefully that helps a bit.
Ethan from Vermont.
Yeah, it could be your resolution on YouTube. Since you're watching on YouTube there, you can hit the gear icon on the bottom, like David recommends. Get a better resolution. All right, so let's do that text formula. And since I have this formatted as a table, if I click a cell, you'll see it doesn't do a cell reference. It knows to look at the birthday column in this row. So the first argument is what am I going to format? And the second argument, we put it in double quotes, and it's going to be how we want this date formatted. So if I were to do a lowercase letter d, double quotes, close my parentheses, you'll see it's going to give me the day portion of my date. So the 21st, the 3rd, the 9th, etc. And it gives me to it in single digits. So like the 3rd just shows a 3 because it gives me one digit if it's only a single digit. If I go back into format, if I go back into the formula and add a second D, it's still just the day, but now it's got a leading 0 if it's a 3 or a 9 or another single digit. If I go up here and add another D, it's going to be the first 3 letters of the day of the week. So I'm really close, but I want to go ahead and have the full day of the week. So I'm going to add a 4th D, and that's what I'm looking for. So now I have, for my individual birthdays, the day of the week in my birthday of week column. Anything else you want to mention on the text formula there, Gabrielle?
No, just that you also have a month. So MMM would give you MM would give you just the like 04, 03. MMM gives you like 3 letters. So DEC for December, and I think MMMM would give you the full month. So December, and it prints out in the current system language. So if you are sharing your reports with users of, let's say, in my case, a French version of Excel, that will also impact the display based on the regional settings.
And like a common Acumatica one using a US format would be like MM, a dash, 1, 2, 3, 4 Ys for the year. That's like a period. That's how a period normally looks in Acumatica, right?
Correct, yes.
You can see I put that dash in there. The dash doesn't do anything, but it does show up in the format down below. And, while I'm in here, keep this in mind. I could also type in my day, something like that, and do the 1, 2, 3, 4. And, oh, it actually doesn't work here. I thought it was going to work here. I'm going to use that technique later on, and it will work. So I'm not interesting. Not sure what happened there. Probably because it's a date, maybe. Maybe I could do this. Me. Try that.
Yeah, but don't put it in quotes.
All right, I won't fool around anymore. I know it'll work when I do it later. All right, so we got the birthday of weeks, and the next thing I need to do to summarize this is I'm going to create a pivot table. So we'll just come up to insert. I have to make sure I'm in the table of data, then insert pivot table. I'll just drop it on the existing worksheet up at the top and click OK. And what I want to summarize, I want to put birthday of week on the rows. And since I'm just counting, it doesn't really matter which column I use. I'll just use the name column and drag it to the values area. All right, so now I've got a count of the birthdays of the weeks. And I can right click in this column, like in this cell right here, and do sort largest to smallest to find our winners. So it looks like Monday and Tuesday are tied. They both have 4 people. So maybe there's 8 people who are going to get a go on the jungle gym first. But before I turn it over to you, Gabrielle, I want to do some formatting things. I think that the formatting part of Excel is one of the most powerful parts of Excel, because I think this is the reason why people often dump data to Excel, because they want to take something to their meeting and they want it to look nice. And that formula, that report that they ran out of Acumatica might get them the data they need, but it doesn't look as nice, right?
Yeah,
So-
or it's just too hard to get it to look as nice as you can in Excel in just a few clicks.
And I think the other thing about formatting, it's not just making the colors and things look nice, but it's also about drawing the attention to what you want people to look at. And I think this is called, like, there's a lot of books out there on this. This is called storytelling, data storytelling. And this doesn't mean making up a fictional story about the data you're trying to show. This just means making it less about just, okay, this overwhelming report, and more about, okay, how do I move through this report and how do I understand what you're trying to tell me with this Excel file, right? So let me do a couple formatting things to draw attention there. First off, I personally don't like using color unless it has a meaning. So we're getting into style here. People can disagree, but for me, I like doing gray or black. Let's see. Let's change. So I can go up to table design here when I've clicked into the table, and let's change this to, how about this one right here? So just black and white cells there. Then here, I'll do the same thing. I'll make this one, let's make this one gray. And then I've got a bunch of ugly grid lines that are kind of distracting me. So I'm going to go up to view and we'll click grid lines right here. All right. So this looks a little better. It looks a little cleaner. But then I really want to draw attention to Monday and Tuesday.
Why?
Because Monday and Tuesday are the whole point of this exercise. That's the answer to the question, right? So I want to highlight Monday and Tuesday. And actually, first thing I'll do here is I'll go ahead and type in some nicer looking headings. Call this number of birthdays. And then I'm just going to use conditional formatting to start. Now, if we have time, Gabrielle, we could come back here and do what's called a pivot chart, but I'm just going to do conditional formatting to start. So I'll go up to Home, Conditional Formatting, and I'm going to do something called data bars, solid fill. Now, you see it only formatted the first one, but I can go back into conditional formatting, go to Manage Rules. I can edit my rule, and see up on the top, since this is a pivot table, I have some other options. I can either do all cells here. If I click OK, you'll see it does all the cells, but I don't like a data bar on the bottom because it kind of skews the meaningful numbers. So I'm going to go back into Manage Rules, edit this, and just do this last option. Click OK. This looks a little nicer. So I like this because I can see not only the winners, but I can see how far out in front the winners are compared to the other days of the week. And let's go back in here. I also like, again, not using color unless it's meaningful. So I'm just going to make this black. Now, here's a challenge. If someone can help me on this, I wanted to make these first two green or something other than black so they would stand out. And in my half an hour or so that I spent on this, I couldn't figure that out. So if anyone knows, drop it in the comments, or hey, maybe even leave a message. What do you think about that, Gabrielle? You could leave a message with a better way of doing something than we did on our last broadcast. So I'm going to come back. The way I came up with was come back in here, and you'll see this black bar is messing up my number 4s. I can't see them. So I'm going to do a new rule, and I'm going to format the top one value, which there's 2 of them here, in this case, the number 4s. And I'm going to change the font to white. Click OK. So there I got my number 4. I need to come back in here, though, and I need to tell it to do it for all the cells. So there's only 2 cells that meet the top criteria. The 2 4s are my top ranked ones, so they're the only ones that get formatted in white. but then I want to do a little bit more to draw attention. I'd like to make them green. If someone can tell me how, please let me know. But this is my way of doing it. I'll go back in here, and here's where I'm going to use the format. So I'm going to come back into the format. I'm going to go over to number. And if I do custom, this is pretty much the same thing as using the text formula. Although apparently it's different because it didn't work for me in the text formula. But this is what I want to do here. I want to say in double quotes, winner, do a colon, a space, do another double quote, and then my code for just showing a number is actually a 0. So winner in double quotes with a colon, a space, and then a 0 at the end in the custom area of my conditional formatting. So I click OK, and now I'm drawing attention to my winners. I'd like to put some color in there. If someone can tell me how to do that, let me know. But there's my response to my daughter's question about birthdays.
I just learned something new, Tim. I was not aware that you could add a prefix or something in your formatting screen. That's a great thing about Excel, I think, is that you can learn something new every day. And even after years and years of doing spreadsheets, there's still something new that you can learn.
Yeah, there's a guy named Bill Jelen, runs a website called MrExcel.com. And he was like the first software celebrity who built a community on a software product in the early 90s. And I heard him one time at a user group up in Cleveland. And what he said really stuck with me. He said he would do like 30 seminars a year, flying all over the country doing seminars on Excel. He said he never had a situation where he didn't go into a seminar and didn't learn something from the audience, which I thought was pretty interesting. There's a lot to learn about Excel.
Yeah, there's a lot to learn about Excel. And in the last few years, Microsoft has also been showing renewed interest in the product. I felt like the product was quite stagnant for a number of years, but since Office 365 took off, they have been actively improving and releasing new versions of Excel on a monthly basis. Depending on how your installation is set up, you might be receiving updates just once a year or twice a year, but you can also be on what Microsoft calls the current channel, where you get new updates every month. And one of the most exciting things, in my opinion, to show up in Excel is something called dynamic arrays. And I think dynamic arrays is also another way that could be used to answer the question that your daughter had. Would you like me to show you, Tim?
Let's see it. Let's take a look.
Yeah, and I think that before I jump into the actual problem, it's worth explaining what dynamic arrays are. Hey, bonjour, Sébastien. Good to see someone from my hometown on the show. So let's try to bring up my screen here. First time using StreamYard. I love it. It's so easy to run this and just share our screens and webcams. So let's build something very simple. I will have a sheet with a few rows. So on the left, I'm showing some amounts. And in line 3, I will have percentages here. So let's say 10%, 15%, 25%. So over here in the highlighted section, I would just like to display the amount multiplied by the percentage. So, if you're an Excel user and you're not familiar with the dynamic array functionality, you would probably just type the formula once, type it, and then just drag to the right and to the bottom. Actually, I made a stupid mistake. I forgot to adjust the references. So it's basically multiplying with the row that's next to it. So let's change that. I should know better. So does that look right? Yeah, I think so.
So your $ fixes it when you paste it across.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So here it means that I always want to get the amount from column A, and I always want to get the percentage from row 3. So the formula is good now. But see, like after fixing my mistake, I had to change it and then move everything to the right and then down. This is obviously still a very simple formula, but you could have something that's a lot more complex. Previously in Excel, like formulas were only able to return one value. So one formula, one cell. But now, starting with Excel 365, you can have functions and formulas that will return more than one value. So let's see how we could apply that to this simple example here. And then I will try to solve your birthday question using dynamic arrays as well. Okay, so let's erase everything here, and even this one. Okay, so what I will do here is just type equal. So I'm starting a formula. I'll select all my rows here, and I'll multiply by B3 through, actually B3 through F3. Let's fix it here, and press enter. Isn't that magical?
That's pretty cool.
So I have one formula, one function here that return multiple values. So if I decide to make a change, so let's say I want to have this percentage, and then, I don't know, like multiply that by 3 as well. I change it once, press enter, and everything updates in my formula. Another very important aspect of dynamic array formulas is something that Microsoft calls the spill range. So spill means that the system will look for any cell that might be overwritten by the result of your dynamic array formula. So let's erase that. And let's imagine that you already had something here. And just like it sometimes happens in spreadsheets, you have some error in the formula that nobody noticed, or whatever. So if I enter my dynamic array formula once again and press enter, you'll see that the formula returns an error, and the error is spill. If I click on the spill message, you'll see a dotted area that basically shows what the system is trying to spill to. So the entire area where the formula would be returned. So I have this number here. If I erase it, press enter. Now it is fixed. So that's one example, a simple formula that multiplies rows and columns just to give results across the entire table. But dynamic arrays allow you to do so much more things. This is something that we have been leveraging extensively in my product, Vilexo Reports, but you can use it for like much simpler questions like the one Tim shared with us earlier. Before I jump back to the example Tim was showing us, I would like to show you one more example. Okay, it's quite simple. So let's say you have a list of departments here. Oops, departments. So you have accounting, you have IT, marketing, procurement, and then you have marketing again, and then accounting again, and multiply that by hundreds of lines. So what if you want to get a simple list of all the unique departments in your list? Well, thanks to dynamic arrays, there's now a new formula called unique that you can use. And this unique function lets you select a range of cells. So it could be the entire column or just a few cells. So let's just say A4 through A16. And then the unique function will return a unique list of departments. So there's something wrong here. Yeah, I guess this is a formatting here, so let's just fix that here. A9, enter. So now that looks better.
Magic is a good way of describing these. It does look like magic.
Yes, and that's not all. You can then take the result of this formula and apply it to another formula. So let's say you want to sort this list of departments. So you could just do equal, sort, and then pick this list right here. You'll notice something interesting, and it's quite important to understand that. Since I selected the entire spill range or the entire results of my unique function, the system replaced the range that I had before. So I had B4 through B7. Okay, it replaced that with B4 hash or B4 pound. And this is something new in Excel 365 as well. And this basically means the entire range returned by the formula in B4. Okay.
So it sounds like a similar concept to a table in that I can reference the entire set of data without having to do cell ranges.
Yes, correct. So this means that if I eventually add new things to my department list here, so let's say,
could you change around marketing and IT in your first column just so we could see if the sort actually work? There you go.
yes,
There
and
it
let's
is.
have here support, and change it, and let's add a new line here. So if you recall, it was not in the range for unique, but as soon as I add it here, you'll see that the sorted result do correct because it is referencing the spill range. Okay, so
And could you do both together? Could you put the sort wrapped around in column B there?
yes, exactly. That's where I was going. I wanted to highlight the different functions separately, but then you can obviously just do sort here and press enter.
Nice.
Now it's sorted. And the sort function has a lot more flexibility. You can actually sort 2D arrays, so tables basically with multiple columns. You can have columns that are sorted in different orders. So when you start using this with generic inquiries in Acumatica, that becomes extremely powerful. If we have time, maybe I'd like to take your example, and instead of having a static list of names and birthdays, maybe we could also extract that from Acumatica. We have the list of employees in Acumatica, so maybe we can just load that. But let's wait until we at least make it work with your static spreadsheet. Yeah. So here is the file that you looked at earlier.
Yeah, Gabrielle, can I ask you on this before you
Yeah.
do the next part? When you say dynamic arrays, it makes me a little scared because I know there's been something in Excel for years and years and years called array formulas. And I tried to do them one time. And what was weird to me is you had to do some like button combination on your keyboard to make them work. And they made my head hurt. Is this the same thing or is this something new?
It's something new, and it is meant to replace the old style arrays in Excel. Like honestly, I had personally never heard of the old style arrays in Excel until I learned about dynamic arrays. I think it was so complex that nobody used them, and plus you had to be really flexible with your hands because it's Control Shift Enter. I think you need to do a spin on your chair at the same time, something like that. Before it updates.
That's how it felt. That's totally how it felt.
Yeah, actually, I do have the old version of Excel installed just to show you the difference. So we did that unique example here, but let's do the same thing in Excel 2013 without dynamic array support, just so people can appreciate the difference.
And when you say new, this is within like the last year or two, right? That dynamic array formulas.
Yeah, I think it was officially launched a year ago, but it's been in the pre-release versions of Excel for a while. I've been working on dynamic array support with Velexo for like 3 years, but we waited until that was available broadly before announcing that. Okay, so I just opened Excel 2013. So obviously, if you do equal unique, you'll notice that the function is not there. Also, if you try to do something like that, it's just going to return one cell. So from A2 through A8, notice that if I do the same thing here in Excel 365, that it does return multiple cells. So there was actually a way in the old version of Excel to get a list of unique values. And please forgive me if I make a mistake.
Yeah,
but I'll try to
good luck.
From A2 through A7, match, count if, the one, A2, A7, 0. Okay, something like that. Oh, I forgot Control Shift Enter. Oh, still just one value. Okay, I mean, honestly, I did not come up with this myself, and maybe I don't know if you can share a link, Tim, But
Well, I don't think we need to even look at it personally. It makes my head hurt. Point is, it's way easier to do now, right?
yeah, it's just
Than
like
it used to be.
you just type unique, and you don't need to like use any wonky key combinations. You just press enter, and it will update. I think part of the reason why Microsoft made the array so hard to use is because it lacked the spelling support that I mentioned before, so the ability
Yeah.
to detect that it's going to overwrite. So they wanted to make sure that you were not, accidentally overwriting anything. So you needed to select the range. Well, actually, yeah, you needed to select the range before doing Control Shift Enter. Yeah, okay, but it's still not working. But as you can see, it's just like it makes my head explode. So we're not even going. Let's close this.
And Mohammed's got a good point here. You could use the data tab to show unique values, delete the duplicates, but that is something you have to do over and over again if new data gets introduced, which is the problem with that route. But you could do that.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so let's try to make this work with dynamic arrays. So if I recall, Tim, you first use the text function to get the day of the week. So what was it? Was it W?
4 Ds.
4
D,
Ds.
D, D, D.
D. Okay, Saturday. So I could copy this, but let's use dynamic array notation instead. So I'll say from B1 to B20. Enter. And then I want to get the count for each day. Was that right? Okay. So let's write. Can do unique days. So C1 and then hash because I want unique values of column C. And then let's count. So I'll do count. Is it count if? The range is again here, and my criteria is here. Hopefully that works. Woo! First try.
Nice.
With dynamic arrays. So I don't think we're expecting to see new days of the week. So it's not a very, very compelling example of why you would use dynamic arrays over pivot tables in this example, but still it shows a very different way of doing things. I'd say maybe what's missing now is just the ability to sort that. So we can also do it. So let's say here I want to sort. Actually, that's a good question. I know how to sort the entire table. So I could do something like that and sort by column 2 and descending. But I still need to have a reference to F3 through G9. There's a way. So if I just do F3 here, it will give me the first column, but then we can use, I believe, the offset function. So
you're trying to build this all in one formula instead of two steps?
It's one formula that is fully dynamic. So let's just use rows F3, columns 2. Oh, that doesn't work. Yeah, I wanted to have one formula instead of referencing F3 through G9, because I know if I just do equal F3, that gives me the first column. But then I think we can do offset to get 2 columns. So reference is F3. The rows is rows of F3.
And I think while you're doing that, that's a question I have. I think it's going to be interesting to see example by example where a dynamic array could do the job versus a pivot table. It definitely blurs the lines in terms of which tool you pull out for different situations.
Okay, I got it, Tim. You need to use offset and just say you have 2 columns instead of 1. So this way it will be completely dynamic. So I can do offset F3. And I just want to say that I have 2 columns here. So now it is fully dynamic. 4, 5. Actually, we have somebody on all the 7 days, but let's say we take out Oliver here and move it to Thursday. And Mia will now go on Thursday as well. So see, the system
Nice.
was able to take it out and everything updated with no errors. So that's dynamic arrays in a nutshell. That's just one of the ways you can use it. There's a number of new functions that were added by Microsoft to Excel 365 and that work really nicely with the dynamic array functionality. So I showed you already unique, I showed you sort, but there's also a function called filter. Okay, so if we add, let's say, last names here, I could filter to get, like, give me all the first names for students of the Rodman family. So you could use the filter for that. There's also another function, and this is one that was mentioned by one of our guests, Sean. It's a function called XLOOKUP. So XLOOKUP replaces the VLOOKUP and the HLOOKUP functions of Excel that you may have used successfully or unsuccessfully in the past. XLOOKUP, in my opinion, is much simpler to use. It's a lot more flexible as well. It also works with dynamic arrays. So maybe we can do an example. So let's get first name here. So I will enter a name, James, and I want to see the birth day and the day of the week. Okay, so XLOOKUP, value you want to look for, the array. So my array is this one, the return array. So you can return absolutely anything. You could even return 2 columns if you want. Enter. And actually what you're seeing now is indeed a date. Excel stores dates this way internally. So I just need to change the formatting to date. So you see that it is indeed the right date. So that's a simpler and more natural way of doing lookups. Have you used this function, Tim?
I haven't used it yet. I'm going to try it out.
No, it's pretty neat. With VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP, if you recall, you had to have your lookup column as the first one, and then you could only return data elsewhere. So it no longer matters when using XLOOKUP because you're able to specify the lookup array and the return array separately. And you can also return multiple cells. So instead of returning just column B, I can return B and C, like I did here. So if I change James to Sophia or Mia, we'll see that it returns both values. Actually, we have an interesting question from Ethan. What if there are 2 James in class? XLOOKUP will only return 1 value, as far as I remember. So let's try it. I'll rename Amelia to Mia. So see, it just returns the first one. You have match mode and search mode. So there's no way with XLOOKUP to get multiple values. But what you can do, however, is use the filter function. So that's another dynamic array function, something that, again, you could do with basic table filtering or the pivot table that you worked on. But now you do it as a formula. So I want to filter this entire table. And I want to include it only if column A equals the value that we have here. Otherwise, I'll say not found. Enter. Mapping. Filter in this case will return all the rows in the area that matches what you just searched. Okay, so let's try it. We have Emma. Emma will be just 1. And you can see that thanks to the power of dynamic arrays that the system takes care of expanding or cutting down on the number of rows that are returned. And again, if you have some important data and the result of the function changes, again, you'll see that spill error that we saw earlier. So spill, again, means that there's data in the area that the function needs to fill. So you can clear it, press enter, and the system will update. Pretty neat.
Very cool. I can think of a dozen questions of where to go from here with this. And I think what's interesting is we milked a what started off as a very simple example and turned it into a bunch of different ways of looking at different things in Excel using that example. And that's really what we want to do here, right? We don't want to just come up with backing into Excel features, feature by feature. We want to start with an example from you. So please call in for our, you got about a month to call in and give us an example for the next one of these. But we really want to attack these by example and then go from there, backing into the features rather than starting reading like a dictionary feature by feature by feature in Excel.
Yes, and number is very easy to remember. It's 833 Excel Talk. So toll-free number. You can even call from a payphone if you do manage to find one somewhere. You still have phone booths and payphones in where you live, Tim?
There's one at the mall, and it's it looks like an old European red phone booth. So it was intentionally done that way. Yeah, I don't see them just sitting around anymore.
It's actually even surprising that the mall is still open.
Yeah, they're paired together very well.
Okay. Like, is there a Blockbuster as well, or?
There should be, right? Yeah. Maybe I could slap a Blockbuster sticker on that phone booth.
Hey, we have a few minutes to just take it one step further and maybe try to link that to.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay.
I can go over. Everyone else can go, and you can always watch the recording if you have to go. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So I just brought up my.
Actually, I already did one where I put birthday on customers. Do you have that? You want me to do it?
Well, I have employees here. I actually wanted to show.
Do it. Go ahead.
How you can find the field in screens, because it's easy enough to find the inquiries, but not everyone knows how to add a field to the inquiry. So I would also like to show that by going to the employees maintenance.
Can you browser zoom, like maybe to 120?
Let's try that. Oh. Better?
Yeah, that's better. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. So this is the standard employees inquiry that ships with Acumatica. So if you're still at the home screen and want to find it, you just type employees. And it's at the bottom under configuration. By default, it does not show the employee birth date. The birth date is on screen, though. If I open Michael Andrews and scroll to the bottom of the first tab, you'll see that we have the date of birth in the personal info section. So where is that field exactly, and how can you figure out how to add it to your generic inquiry? My favorite, and actually it's the best and only tool for that, is to use the customization inspector that is in the customization menu. This menu here only shows up if you have the customization role assigned to your Acumatica user profile. But as you'll see, it is extremely valuable when building inquiries. So just go to customization, select inspect, and your mouse pointer changes into this with the question mark. And then you can just move over the date of birth field, click on it, and you will see the view name, the data class, and the data field name. So it's called date of birth. So it was actually not too hard to find, but what was not obvious, though, is the data class. So this is actually stored with the contact, not with the employee table itself. So you need to know that. And the customization inspector allowed me to find the data class very easily.
Hey, Gabriel, I never asked you this before, but you worked at Acumatica for a period of time. Did you have any involvement in that inspect element feature, or if not, know who did? Because I love it.
I don't know. I would suspect it's something that Alexander Ignatin built. That's been the main mastermind and guru behind all the customization tools in Acumatica. The inspect element has been there for as long as I remember. But I think you're right. It was not part of, let's say, Acumatica V1.4, the first one I used. But it is definitely helpful.
It's a great tool.
Yeah, there's also a new schema browser that is part of 2021 R2 or R1, but I'm not even going to use that because I am very comfortable using the inspector and just editing the inquiry. Okay, so let's go back to the GI. Click Edit. So this will bring up the generic inquiry configuration screen. So under Results, I will just add my new field. And this is what I was telling you earlier. So notice that it picks the EP employee object by default. So if I just search for date or birth, I'm not going to find it. The field is in contact, which is already part of that inquiry, so that's good for us. Now let's search for Bert again. It's right here, date of birth. Let's click save. And view the inquiry once again. Yep, so right here. So now let's take that and bring the entire contents of the inquiry to Excel to create a truly dynamic spreadsheet. So once again, I will go back to the inquiry because I need to make this visible via OData. So OData is a special, can I say, like plumbing or like programming language that Acumatica uses to interact with external applications. That's how Velixo pulls data from Acumatica. That's how Power Query and Power BI pulls data as well. So I need to expose this via OData. And I need the name of my inquiry, EP employees. I will just copy that. We'll use it later. Okay. I'm going to use Velixo to bring the data. I will use the GI function, generic inquiry. This is a dynamic array function that we built and added to our product to help you retrieve data from any generic inquiry in Acumatica. There are many ways to do that. Tim could certainly do it using Power Query. That's his favorite tool. But since I wanted to expand on dynamic arrays, using Velixo will definitely be the best way to do that. So let me just add a connection to my Acumatica system. Hello. Click connect. So Tim, once the connection is open, I'll be able to just type equal GI in my spreadsheet and retrieve that employees generic inquiry. Just zoom in and do equal GI.
So this GI formula is a Velixo formula that somehow uses dynamic array technology under the hood, something like that.
Yeah, correct. So see, like I just typed equal GI, pressed enter, and I got a bunch of columns and a bunch of rows back. So this is the full contents of the GI that we were looking at earlier. And that also includes the date of birth. So honestly, I only care about a first column. So I will, a few columns, I will change that here and say that I want the employee name. Let's add email. Maybe we want to send a birthday note later. And my date of birth. Perfect. Let's fix the formatting for the dates. Add some headers. Date. And now we're able to use the dynamic array functions again to get the day of the week. So I think you said it was text. Then I want my hash symbol, and I actually just care about one column. So that's another very important dynamic array function, index. So that is if you want to get a specific row or a specific column. In my case, I want to get column 3. And remind me, Tim, it was D, 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 D?
4 Ds. Yep, you got it.
Please enter. Day of the week. Okay. And then we could add that count function again and the unique function again, just to recreate the same thing that you built. We could actually even like mix the pivot table with that. Since we have a dynamic array reference, it's now possible to build a pivot table that will expand or trim down based on the number of rows that you have in Acumatica. But the great thing now is that this spreadsheet is actually linked to Acumatica. So if Michael Andrews changes his birth date, I know that probably wouldn't happen in real life, but actually he would like to be born on January 1st, so let's change it here. So 0101. Actually, you know what? I know people like to be younger, so I will leave him on January 14, but I'll make him 10 years
This is the scenario where he's fleeing the U.S. for Canada and he needs new paperwork so he can make up a new birthday.
So just change the data in Acumatica, and now I will click refresh in the Acumatica toolbar, and you'll see that the birthday change and day of the week
That's
change
cool.
as well. Yeah,
That's really cool.
Yeah. Mhm.
And to me, that's the whole power of the word dynamic, right? Is when it refreshes. And when you're dealing with typical Acumatica data, this is not just a one-time exercise. This is an exercise that you're going to want to repeat weekly, monthly, whatever the cadence is. And doing that manually is very painful.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I think we missed one question here from Mohammed about, this was back about 11 minutes ago. Changing the name. I don't completely understand the question.
Me neither.
Mohammed, maybe you could add some more context to that. I know you can do like named ranges, and maybe he's talking about that, changing the name of the dynamic array. Maybe I'm not sure.
Yeah, you can definitely create name ranges that link to dynamic arrays. It's something that is helpful if you then want to create a pivot table. So let's say you want to have a name range that references that table here. You can go to formulas, define name.
It was for Mia. Let's see.
It was for Mia. Let's go back. Mia. Can we have it so the name doesn't come again in the filter formula? Didn't want Mia to be listed in the filter results. Oh, okay. That good question. I understand what he's saying. So basically, give me all students except. Actually, we can probably like geek out on this one too. So instead of doing equal G21, I'll do different from G21. I'll change it. I'll press enter, and we'll get filter that. Format that rather. So we'll get everyone except Mia. Okay. So let's see. Let's try something. I'm not sure it will work, but I'm pretty confident. Let's do everyone except Mia, Liam, and Lucas. Instead of just having G20 here, let's see if I can add a reference to 3 columns, 3 rows. No, that didn't work. There are some cases with GI functions where you can have multiple values. I don't think this one was a good example here, but I think this answered.
Yeah, so Dan had one too. One Mia with 2 birthdays listed. I was wondering that too. Do you have any thoughts on how to do a comma delimited list of values?
One Mia. Yeah, comma delimited list. Yeah, definitely. So let's do one Mia. So give student name.
The Power BI formula for that would be concatenate X. Let's see the dynamic array formula.
We're getting challenged then. Somebody. Okay, so let's do Mia. So I want to get all the birth dates for Mia. So that's.
So I think we're also showing the difficulty of responding live to comments. So Bonnie's helping out here. And this is where we want to use the phone call in format, where you get 3 minutes or so to fully explain the situation, submit an Excel file along with it. I think that'll help us a lot. But we're doing our best here to interact with the comments.
Okay. But I got it to work then. Okay. So I have 2 results, but then we will concatenate it. And actually, we'll do 2 things, okay? So let's just look at the formula. It's doing equal filter. So I'm filtering on column B, where values in column A equal what I have in G20. So it's giving me all the results for Mia. So we have 2 students. Let's even add a 3rd one here. So let's say we want to have the result as in different columns instead of different rows. I can use transpose. That's another new dynamic array function. So that will give me 3 columns instead. Again, I still need to format that. And let's say you want everything in one cell as comma delimited. You can use text join. Actually, text join is not part of Excel. It's part of Velixo. Excel has text split, and we added text join. Or is it the other way around? I need to look it up. Let's see.
Is it basically the opposite of text split?
Yes. It's very so. Let's do text join. My delimiter is comma, and this is what I want to join. So now we have 3 values, and oops, one more challenge because we do have the data that is unformatted. So I need to do text here. That's getting really complex. We need to format that. Oh my God. Let's do paste as text here. We're getting really challenged here. So transpose, filter. So I need to format this.
Gabriel not only brings the professional to Excel Talk, he also brings the brains to Excel Talk. He's not afraid to geek out on this stuff.
Value, and then what's my format? Let's say year, month, day. Ooh, like that.
Nice.
You got it. Okay, but I mean, as you're probably realizing, Tim, formulas can get complex very easily. So it's always a question you need to ask yourself: what's the simplest way to achieve what you're looking to do? There are times where pivot tables will not be an option. There are times where formulas will not be an option. I'm always looking for simplicity when building, not just simplicity, but simplicity and ease of maintenance. If you build something that is too complex, well, other users in your organizations will not be able to maintain that without risking of breaking everything. So you need to balance, power, simplicity, clarity, and maintenance in whatever you do with Excel and with Power BI, with any tool, I'd say.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't think of it this way, but Excel really is, in a sense, a programming language, right? Especially when you get into more complex formulas. And
lambdas, and that's for another day.
But you could really even call just a regular Excel formulas a programming language. It's not as complete as a developer would like it, but for a business user, you're essentially building programs, when you're building Excel files a lot of times. So all the same stuff with like documentation and keeping things simple. You could do it overly complex, but you want to make it elegant. All the same stuff that applies to writing computer code applies to Excel formulas as well.
Yeah, we have this blog post from last year. There's actually something called the World Spreadsheet Day. And last year, we highlighted all the amazing stuff that people create using spreadsheets. So I've seen like full-blown ERP systems inside Excel. That's a thing. It's a bad idea if you ask me, but that's actually a thing. But there's like creatives, like this guy, a Japanese artist, creating paintings using Excel. So this is quite impressive. There's people that have built games. So there's Monopoly that was built in Excel using macros and spreadsheets. You can do amazing things with Excel. And I hope that with this show, we will be able to help everyone like come up with new ideas and think of even more stuff that they can do using Excel. It's a powerful tool. It keeps getting better every day. And we're just scratching the surface with a very simple question today. But I hope, Tim, that people that watch and that will be watching the recording later on will come up with even more challenging questions. I want to have fun. I think that this is one of the things you said. This is not work for us. We're just looking to play and enjoy ourselves while doing what we love and building spreadsheets.
Yeah, we want to keep it fun, and I think we need your calls. We need your examples to keep us going here. So before next month, we hope to hear from you. 833 Excel Talk. We'll flash it on the screen one more time when we wrap it up here. But before we wrap it up, any other thoughts, Gabriel, for today?
I would just like to thank everyone for attending. I think we had a fairly impressive turnout for our first session. Thanks to everyone. And please tune in next time. And please send in all your questions. I hope that we will be even more challenged next month.
Sounds great.
Yes.
Thanks everyone for attending, and we
Happy
look forward to
holidays.
hear from you. Happy holidays.